Hi, welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know, my name is Katharine, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my November TBR. For those who don't know what TBR stands for, it means to be read, so I'm going to be sharing a list of 5 books that I'm anticipating reading for the November month. I was always kind of opposed to doing TBR monthly lists because I'm such a mood reader, and I also am not a fast reader either, so I always thought if I made videos like this that I wouldn't actually end up getting to the books that I said would be on my monthly TBR, and also I just feel like I would have picked up like other books because I changed my mind, or because I'm such a slow reader I wouldn't get to all of them. So that's kind of my reasoning behind like not doing these types of videos in the past, but I've kind of come around to the idea of doing them because I feel like at the end of every month you kind of have an idea what you want to read like for the next upcoming month. And also because I read such a small amount of books per month, I usually average between like 1.5, maybe even 2 books if I'm lucky per week. So like if I don't end up getting to that specific book that I said was on my TBR, like I don't need to put that much pressure on myself. Like maybe I can get it in the next month. So that's what this is all about. Like maybe I should call this like a pile of possibilities. I've heard people mention their TBRs like that before. So I'm just going to be sharing a list of 5 books that are a possibility for me to read in this next upcoming month and what I'm excited to get to. So hopefully that kind of explains like where I'm coming from and like what to expect from me during this list that I'm doing during this video. So let's just get to it. So the first book that I have here, it doesn't have a dust jacket on it because I'm a psycho, and I'm not like the biggest fan of dust jackets unless it's like a really pretty cover. I will keep the dust jacket, but I find them just to like be in the way of the book, especially when I'm reading. Like I guess I don't necessarily have to throw out the dust jacket and just like keep the dust jacket and just take it off and put it somewhere else like when I'm reading, and then like put it back on when I'm not reading it. But like that's just not me. I don't like that. I actually don't even like the look of dust jackets when it's on the bookshelf. So that's why I do that, because I'm a psycho, like I said. Not really, but like sort of. But this is a Harry Potter book. It's the 6th book in the series. It is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And for those who don't know, I have been trying to make my way through the Harry Potter series for the past few years. They are pretty chunky, as you can see. I believe this specific book is over 600 pages. Yeah, it's 652 pages. So it is definitely a chunker, like a lot of the other Harry Potter books too. So I've been reading maybe like 2 Harry Potter books per year-ish for the past few years, and now I'm on obviously book number 6, which is the Half-Blood Prince one. I'm excited to get to this one because I feel like I'm pretty deep into the story now. There's only 7 books in the series, so I only have 1 book left after I finish this one. So maybe I can finish the Harry Potter series by the end of the year, but there's like no promises. So if I finish this book in November, then I could possibly finish the 7th book in December. I really view the Harry Potter books like in seasons. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't see myself reading Harry Potter books in the spring and summer. I usually like to read them in the fall and winter time, just because that's just what feels right. It's primarily taking place during like the school year of like when Harry is at Hogwarts. So I feel like the fall and winter season is like primarily when school is going on. So that's why I like to read these books in those seasons. So that's with like a lot of my books. Like I'm a mood reader, like I mentioned before. So I tend to base a lot of my books around seasons because like when it's the fall. Like, I'm in a autumn type mood. So like, of course, I'm gonna pick up like autumnal type books. So that's why I'm gonna read the 6th book, or hope to read the 6th book in the Harry Potter series in November. I honestly don't really know what this is about. I know it says the Half-Blood Prince, and I did watch the Harry Potter movies growing up, but I honestly don't remember what this specific movie adaptation is about, so I'm excited to read the book. I didn't read the Harry Potter series in my childhood. Like, I'm actually reading this series for the first time as an adult, and it's making the movies make so much more sense to me, because as a kid, like, the Harry Potter series wasn't like my favorite, just because like it was just so confusing to me. I think the reason why that is because they try to pack in so much information into the movies, where a lot of the scenes feel really rushed. So now that I'm reading the books as an adult and now watching the movies, I'm like, that makes sense now. And like, why did they not include this? And why did they choose to rush this certain scene when it's really important? So reading the books now as an adult like makes me appreciate Harry Potter now, and like I love the movies that much more because of that. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get to this book. It's the 6th book in the Harry Potter series. Like I said, it's called The Half-Blood Prince. But yeah, that's the first book that I'm excited to get to in November. The next book is the 2nd book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. And again, I don't have the dust jacket on this, and I do like the color of this actually. It's like very plain, but I like the color of this. I did just recently read A Court of Thorns and Roses in September, and I'm excited to get to this one. I have heard that this series is spicy, and for those who have been watching my videos, I have had like kind of like an epiphany of like what books I should be going towards now, and that is Christian fiction. And at the time of reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, like the first book, I hadn't been fully there yet of like really only feeling convicted of reading Christian fiction. And the reason for that being is that I don't really like how a lot of secular books have a lot of like sexual content in them, and then they also have a lot of like demonic undertones to them, if not like blatant demonic meanings behind the books. And there's nothing against like sexual stuff, like God created sex for a reason, and I don't think the Christian community should be so taboo when talking about sexual stuff. But just like as someone who has struggled with sexual sin in the past, I don't want to put myself in a place to be tempted back to that. I do want to save myself like sex-wise for marriage now. I haven't in the past, but I do now. So in any area of my life that includes reading books, I want to try to refrain from like not putting myself in situations where I could be tempted. So I'm gonna try to read this book, which is, again, the 2nd book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. It's A Court of Mist and Fury, like I said. And I'm going to try to read this, but if it does cross that line of like being too sexual in nature, like I'm going to have to either like not continue on with the series, or maybe even possibly DNF this book. So we'll see about this. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from this. Like, I'm going to try the 2nd book in the series just to see like if it really is like too spicy, and then I can make a decision from there. Like the 1st book in the series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, I didn't find it blatantly or like too much sexual content. I think there was like maybe one like sexual type scene, but like it wasn't too much for me anyway. Like, it may be too much for someone else, but like I didn't find it like necessarily like too much for me. But that's like all subjective to like each individual. But like, let me just read this book next month and then see if I'm going to continue on with the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. The third book that I possibly want to get to this month is Happily Ever After by Kierra. So this is basically like a companion book to the Selection series by her. It is a collection of different novellas in this like one book of like different perspectives of different characters other than America. So America is the main female character in the Selection series by Kierra, but this dives into, I think, the two main male characters in the series, and it also dives into the prince's mom's perspective as well. So it contains the novellas of the prince, the guard, the queen, and the favorite. So I guess there's another perspective that I don't know what it is. I think it might be the perspective of like one of the other girls in the Selection. So I'm excited to read that, or to read this, if I can speak correctly, because I did really like the Selection series. And from what I've heard, Kierra is a Christian, so I can't wait to not just get to this book, but to other of her books in her backlist. So there's that book. The next book that I want to kind of break up the large amount of like series books that I have is The House in the Cerulean Sea, and this is, I believe, a middle grade fantasy book, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not middle grade fantasy, then maybe it's like cozy fantasy, or like maybe it is an adult fantasy with just like low stakes and it has like children in the plot, because I do remember people describing this book about it being about children. So let me just read the back to you, because like I'm really bad at describing books when I haven't read them yet. Like at least with those books, like I have read other books in the series, so I know somewhat what they're about, but let me just read the back of this book for you, the synopsis. So it says, Linus Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. See, I knew it was about children. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company. But his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment: travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at the strangest of islands, he is greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the greatest mystery of which is Arthur Paranessus. I don't know if that's how you really pronounce it, but he's the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur grow closer, Linus discovers the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn. Or worse, his secrets come to light. The House in the Cerulean Sea is an enchanting love story, masterfully told about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in unexpected places and realizing that family is yours. So apparently this is about this caseworker who is sent out to basically like investigate this orphanage, and it's suspected that these children in this orphanage like could possibly like end the world, apparently. But yeah, he basically discovers, I think, like that they may not be so dangerous, possibly, and that it might be even like a coming of age story too. I didn't realize that there was like a love story in this either, so we'll see about that, but I was correct in guessing that, or remembering that it is about children. So I think this would be a light read for me to, you know, break up some of the books that are in series that I'm planning on reading in November. So excited to read this. I also just like love the cover too. It's like very colorful, very whimsical, and I like this about this book. And then the last book that I have on my TBR is Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. I heard that Rachel Fordham is a very great and popular Christian historical fiction author. And Oceana, who is another booktuber who I follow on here, is a big fan of this book. And she typically reads Christian contemporary romance. So whenever someone who reads outside of their comfort zone recommends a book that is in the genre that I like, which is Christian historical romance, I'm going to read it, because I feel like if someone loves a book so much that it's outside of their comfort zone, but is something that I would probably like, I can trust that it might or probably is a really great book. So I'm gonna really try to get to this book in November, because it just looks like something I would like. On the back of the book, it says that it's about a family who owns land in Iowa in the 1880s, and it follows this girl named Nora, and she basically finds this injured man on her property like days before her wedding, that she doesn't want to get married to this other man, and basically she is compelled to basically take care of this guy who's injured on her property, and she does that. She nurses him back to health, and basically this man is homeless and like penniless, so like he ends up leaving because he feels like she might deserve better. But basically I think this is about like just their love story, and Oceana actually described this to being similar to Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. And if anyone knows me, Redeeming Love is one of my favorite books of all time, so if anything is compared to that, like I'm automatically reading it, so I'm excited to get to this too. But yes, those are the 5 books that I am looking forward to reading in the month of November. Like I mentioned, I may not get to like all of those books in the month of November, because I, for one, am a slow reader, so I average around like 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 books if I end up reading 2 books a week, which is very rare for me. But I tend to read about 5 books per month on average, so I will try to get to all those books. I also am very much a mood reader, so if I end up not feeling like I want to read a certain book from that list, then I might pick up another book. But I also realize that some of those books are chunkers. Like I said, the Harry Potter book that I want to get to is over 600 pages, and I'm pretty sure the next book in A Court of Thorns and Roses is a chunker too. I don't know how many pages are in that. I think it's called A Court of Mist and Fury, from what I remember of what the title is. But some of those are chunkers, so like I might not get to all of those books for that reason too. But yeah, thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it, and it's getting me excited to read for the next upcoming month in November. But do all the YouTube things that you know how to do, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!